Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. This is going to be a very, very short video, really just a follow up from my video yesterday about Venus ingressing into Sagittarius. And there was just a couple of little things that I've been really reflecting on the last few days, but I just actually forgot to mention it in my video yesterday. And so if you haven't watched the Venus in Sagittarius video, I suggest you watch that first before you listen to this. But in any case, here's what I want us to kind of reflect on and appreciate as well, which is the word appreciation is always one of the best words for Venus. So Venus was the morning star back in January of 2022. And when she's a morning star, relative to the astronomical phenomena, she's rising in the east, and we see her as this literally like a diamond in the morning sky, right? It's just the most exquisite star, right, to look at. She's just dazzling beauty. Now, as time progresses forward and she starts to move away, because what happens is we have a morning star, evening star, morning star, evening star. It's always in that cycle. Okay, you never have two morning stars or two evening stars. It's always one and the other, one and the other, which creates that pentagram, right, that we know is there in the backdrop of part of the cosmic clock. So after January, as Venus started to move on in her journey through the zodiac, the Venus star point was in Capricorn, okay, in January as a morning star. As she started to move through the zodiac and traveled really on the other side of the sun, and started to become preparing to become an evening star, right, which was the magical Libran evening star that took place in October, right, the first ingress of an evening star for over 150 years, right, in the sign of Libra. So that's quite a spectacular, magical phenomena within itself. But outside of that, as Venus became the evening star, what happens is Venus can only be viewed a few months of the year, okay, when she's rising and setting. And so for several months of the year, she's considered to be in the underworld, right? Because she's astronomically, she's actually out of view, right? Because she's basically obscured by the sun's light. Okay, Venus never travels more than 48 degrees away from the sun, so she's always within close proximity to the sun. Okay, a Sun-Venus conjunction is a Venus star point, right? That's when they're exactly together. But as she moves away from the sun, there are certain months in the year where she can't be seen. Now, the symbolism to that and the significance to that is, and this is what we've been through really the last couple of months, especially when Venus ingressed into Scorpio, which is the underworld anyway, right? So she's in Scorpio, she's in the underworld, and she's literally in the underworld astronomically as well, because she's furthest away from our position here on Earth, right? She's on the other side, right? When she's retrograde, she's closest to the Earth, conjunct the sun, and closest to the Earth, right? And that's when she's rising in the east as a morning star. So when she becomes the evening star, which happened in October, we don't see her at all. She's like out of sight completely. And that speaks to really important matters to do with all things Venus in our own life, right? So she's been out of view for quite some time, and in about a week's time, she's going to be seen in the western horizon setting as the evening star that she was born into in October, for instance. So in other words, she's going to come out of the underworld, and we're going to start seeing her presence in the sky again, although it will be the evening sky because she'll be setting, right? But the point is this, that the last few weeks especially, we've been going through such a deep personal journey with Venus in Scorpio and Venus being out of view astronomically. And it is said in traditional astrology that when Venus is in the underworld, out of view, right, literally out of view, it's really not the time to be. I mean, people will do this and it will happen, but it can bring about some obstacles and challenges, because when Venus goes into the underworld, that's a very private and personal individual journey for all of us, right? In that we think about Inanna, who's a representation of Venus going into the underworld, and she goes through those, I think it's 7 stages, right? That journey of Venus descending into the underworld is our own personal private journey of working through matters of love in the heart, matters of self-worth, self-love, matters of value, period, and really exploring a journey about our own worth and our own self-love, and realizing and recognizing where and how we have grown, and where and how perhaps we further need to grow, and what we have outgrown, right? But in those stages and in that journey, it's a very confronting sort of journey, and depending on whether one's working with that consciously or not will depend on how that journey is experienced. But everybody will have some encounter with those feelings of Venus descending into the underworld, disappearing from view, because she takes us into a much more introspective experience, right? So it's, in other words, it's not the time to be starting relationships and love affairs and things of that nature, because Venus is really kind of busy, if you like, trying to figure out her own self in that journey. She's working things out about herself. The expression which is inscribed in the Oracle of Delphi in Greece, know thyself, which Socrates said as well, know thyself. I couldn't think of a more meaningful couple of word phrase to describe really our entire journey on this earth plane, regardless of our evolutionary path, regardless of our awareness, regardless of what we are doing or not doing or trying to do, how much we are engaged in the world or not. Everything we are doing because we are wanting to know ourselves better, right? How do we know ourselves better? By trying different things. If I try this, I know that I like it or I don't like it, etc., on a very basic, superficial level. But at a deeper level, those journeys of understanding oneself requires looking at even the things about ourselves that we may not like, because we've outgrown it. You know, we evolve, we outgrow patterns and behaviors and mindsets and values and beliefs and all sorts of things, right? So Venus in the underworld, Venus in Scorpio, is not an easy time for love, money, relationships, romance, even friendships. It's a very challenging time, because it's a time where we are being called to go inwardly, right, and investigate and do some deep dives into the matters that we need to clear out, right, and further develop and work on for our own knowing of ourself, right? So that's really what we've been going through, and especially the last few months, really, but especially the last few weeks, as Venus has been out of view. And then, you know, in Scorpio, it's probably been a challenging time for many people on the sphere of love, sensuality, sexuality, not from the point of view of one's own sensuality and sexuality, but maybe in the desire of another, right? And you know, projecting that onto another, and it not being reciprocated, and maybe wanting something that's not available, that's not there, or the timing's not right. The timing's not right when Venus is in the underworld to be trying to send our magnetic sort of energy, because Venus is the magnetic principle, to send that energy out there and to draw back in what we're wanting to draw in, because Venus draws in, right? Venus is the goddess that draws and attracts. She's the attraction principle. But the point is, when she's in the underworld and going through that descent, that journey, and astronomically, she's not visible as well, which is symbolic of that underworld journey. That's a journey that we must attend to ourself, our own self-worth, our own self-love, and work on that rather than trying to find it from an external source, be it a person or anything else for that matter. And so here we are now at the present moment where Venus has just gone into Sagittarius. She will be there until the 10th of December. I've unpacked that in a previous video, which I did yesterday. As I said, watch that if you want to hear more about that. But it's not a coincidence that Venus is now ingressing, or has ingressed, into Sagittarius, which is a complete contrast from Scorpio. We're talking about the cave, the snake pit, to the infinite blue sky. Cave, snake pit, darkness, Scorpio, Venus in Scorpio, underworld, necessary journey, difficult but necessary, coming out of the underworld, rising into the bright blue sky with a much clearer vision of what she's ready now to actually shoot her arrows towards, being in Sag, right? And astronomically, she's in about a week's time, she's going to become visible, as I said, setting on the western sky. So it's synchronistic. It's not coincidental. It's synchronistic, and it's very, very meaningful and very, very powerful that this is all lining up together. Venus in Sag, Venus appearing back in our sky. And it speaks to now, in about a week's time or so, this is now going to be a really great time for all Venusian things in our life, all Venusian things, which is about, what's Venus about? She is about everything that we love, that we deeply love and enjoy. Creativity, relationships, lovers, friendships, anything that we magnetically feel drawn to, connected to, whether it's a piece of music or whether it's an individual, or whether it's a pair of shoes, whatever it is, we magnetically draw and attract based on the Venus within us. Everyone has Venus within them. We all have the gods and goddesses within us. We are an expression, right? An archetypal expression of the gods and the goddesses, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the soul, so the universe. So in the next week, you can start to think about, if you've had some challenging periods around love, romance, money, creativity, feeling like you haven't been able to bring that forth, to get that moving, to feel that energy flow moving in the direction that's most appropriate for you relative to where you are in your life at the moment. In about a week's time, you'll be in a much better equipped position to start engaging with those aspects of life again, with the greater potential of being more aligned with what you're actually trying to magnetically attract in your life, right? So that's all I wanted to say. Just a quick one for today. But I thought it was very important to come back and talk about that, because I literally have been reflecting on that the last 48 hours, and then it occurred to me when I finished my Sag video in that Venus in Sag yesterday. I didn't mention this component, which is extremely important. So I hope this was useful, and looking forward to, I just want to say, I literally felt visceral experience of Venus moving out of Scorpio into Sag, which just happened last night sometime, right? That I said yesterday in my video that when that transition happens, we will feel literally the energy on the ether there'll be a sense of upliftment almost immediately, just something that uplifts. That's the nature of Sagittarius. Pardon me. So I don't know if you guys felt that. I did. I'd love to hear if you're feeling it. And certainly over in about a week's time, as Venus starts to become visible, you will feel that energy and that presence of Venus even more, because she will be in view, right? In view astronomically. So that connects to our own psyche and our embodied experience here in this physical earth plane. So I'll see you guys soon. Much love and many star blessings. And thanks for watching. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe, share. Let me know if you're new, and so on and so forth. Love you all. Bye for now.